The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Tohono O'odham Nation, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34499. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your vehicle with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new vehicle. Starting just under the front bumper, we'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks on the passenger and driver's side frame rail. Moving up onto the face of the bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver's side. Located directly in the center, you'll find your emergency siren and also PA speaker. Moving up onto the bumper extension in the very center is where you'll find a tubbed storage location with a swivel 1.5-inch discharge, dry deck material just inside. As we move to the headlight structure, low and high beam headlights, the high beam will be on the inside. Up from that, you'll find the cluster housing an emergency warning light and also a turn marker indicator. As we move to the outer edge, on the A pillar is where you'll find your marker light. Let's move up to the windshield area where you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. As we move to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 clearance lights. And then we move directly in the center, you'll find your forward-facing floodlight. Let's go ahead and move now up to the roof of the cab where we'll find our emergency warning light bar. From this position, let's move around to the driver's side of the vehicle of the cab area, first starting in the front bumper area with the bumper extension, side-facing emergency warning light, and then also the drain for your front hose load. Underneath each door, you'll find all of our ground lights located at the bottom of the step area. As we move into the front step area, or step well, you'll find your air inlet. Moving up to the A pillar, a clearance marker light. And then as we move to the door handles, you'll find easily accessible with a gloved hand, keyed latch. These are your door locks. Moving up, you'll also find right next to those grab handles for gaining access in and out of the cab. As we move directly over the front axle, you'll find your auto eject plug. This is your shoreline inlet. It is a 20 amp auto eject plug. Directly above that, side facing scene light. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, starting with the mirror, we have a flat and convex mirror portion. As we move down to the rear section, you'll find that auto eject plug, once again 20 amp. And as we move directly above that, you'll find the indicator. When plugged into shore power, this will become active. Let's move down to the step well where we'll find our air inlet. Door handles, once again, they are keyed. And then as we move to the very rear of that section, shoreline inlet, auto eject plug, 20 amp. As we move upward from this location, when plugged into shore power, your battery voltage indicator will illuminate, indicating the wattage. As we move to the very top section, we're going to find a side-facing scene light. And then as we move down to the very bottom, where our Goodyear tires and Alcoa wheels, in the center axle, you'll find a sight gauge. General view here of the side of the apparatus. Let's start with the pump panel area first. And first, starting at the pump panel, you'll find these lift latches, which will gain access to your crosslays. These are the 2 speed loads on the passenger and driver side access. We have a picture with them now partially pulled out. They do have cutouts in the upper portion for gaining access in and out. As we move to the very top, you'll find grab handles located directly above the pump panel and one at the very top. And then you'll also find on the pump panel, you'll find an access door. Lift and turn latch will gain you access into this space for gaining access behind the pump panel. You'll also find 2 2.5-inch discharges located on this side and also a warning label regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. The Pierce logo, American flag eagle, large diameter pump inlet. And down at the lower section here, you'll find a 2.5-inch female auxiliary inlet that is on the driver's side. You'll also find a warning label here and also some discharge drains, color-coded and labeled. Here's some close-ups. This is the number 1 driver's side discharge. Just beneath that, the number 3 driver's side discharge. Let's go ahead and move further down on the same panel area. We'll find the driver's side auxiliary inlet. Once again, 2.5-inch female.
As we move to the right, you'll find all of our color-coded discharge drains and also a warning label here regarding only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they've received proper training. As we move all the way to the right, we'll find our main pump drain. You'll also find, once again, Pierce logo, American flag eagle, large diameter pump intake. Let's move downward in the lower right-hand corner of the pump panel. We do have a few placards. Once again, pump drain. And then as we move downward from this location, you'll find an additional T-handle. That's going to be the manual pump shift. Also, minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. And then just beneath that, you'll find the red placard, which is your watcher's placard, indicating the capacity of your pump, 1,500 GPM. Let's move now to the step area. This is on the vertical surface. We've got 4 steps located here that fold down. Inside those steps, you'll also find an LED light just above the aircraft nut. General view here of the side of the apparatus with your compartment doors in the closed position. Let's take a look with them in open. LED lighting inside, ventilation, and also adjustable shelving. We do have 2 compartment doors here, accessible for SCBA bottle storage, with retaining straps for those bottles. Also in the very front axle area is where you're going to find your blue DEF only DEF fill location, and then just underneath that you'll also find a marker light. Let's move to the rear of the axle where you'll find your ultra low sulfur diesel. This is the fill location, which happens to be a silver cap, and then just above that you'll find all of your SCBA bottle storage, 2 in this location with bottle storage. Let's move up to the top to the body side sheet where you'll find a side-facing floodlight. As we move to the very rear of the apparatus, you'll find a 360-degree emergency warning light. And at the very back at the upper corner is where we're going to find a directional rear scene light. A couple views here of the rear of the apparatus. Let's first focus in on the tail lights. Starting at the very top, we have an emergency warning light, brake light, turn, and then reverse, all in the same bezel. As we move upward from this location, you can see the emergency warning light, and then at the very top you can see that there is an adjustment to allow you to move that light to any position. This is the rear scene light. Let's move back to the very lower section of the tailboard. First, we'll start with a couple warning labels. Do not ride on your vehicle while it's in motion, and always face the vehicle while climbing. These are the fold down steps down in the lower notch portion. There's one on each side. Once again, they do have LED lighting in them. As we move up to the upper portion, there are 2, in addition with a 2.5-inch rear discharge. Let's go ahead and take a look at the right side, and we'll start first with your ladder storage location. A D handle gains us access into this compartment. It's in the upper right hand corner. We do have a 24-foot extension ladder, a 14-foot roof ladder. As we move up to the top section just above the 2 ladders, you'll find a 10-foot folding attic ladder in the upper right hand corner, and then just to the left you'll find 2 tubes. Those are for your long storage pike poles. Let's go ahead and move up on top of the vehicle. We'll find water fill location at the very front section of the bulkhead, and then just to the right you'll find your foam tank fill location. Let's take a look inside these. This is your water tank fill location. You have a screen and also an overflow. And as we move to the right, we've got the foam fill location, overflow, and screen. It's important to remember that do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. We're now moving around to the passenger side of the vehicle at the body. Doors in the open position. We've got adjustable shelving, LED lighting. As we move to the very center location, just to the rear of the axle is where we're going to find SCBA bottle storage for 3 SCBA bottles and retaining straps. As we move to the front axle, you'll find 3 SCBA bottle storage locations with retaining straps. Just beneath that, you'll find this small placard indicating extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. Let's take a look at the pump panel area. We're now on the passenger side. We'll start at the very top section with a lift and turn latch to gain access behind the pump panel. And then just to the right, you'll find your cab lift operations. We have instructions for both raising and lowering. There is some danger and caution information, protected switch for raise and lower, and an activation switch. We also have a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. To the right, 2.5-inch discharge. As we move downward from this location, you'll find the large diameter discharge. It is the green on the passenger side, lower section here. Then in the very center, you'll find the Pierce logo, American flag eagle. Once again, large diameter pump intake. As we move just to the left inside the pan door of the large diameter intake is where you'll find your relief valve for your intake. As we move to the very bottom, we'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's move back up to the very top to that access panel where we do have a switch for illumination inside the pump house area. Let's move from this location now to the front cab area. It's going to be the same configuration as we see on the driver's side. And now let's go ahead and move around to the driver's space and steering wheel area and seat. Let's start first looking at the door panel itself. You'll find all of our safety and warning information affixed to the door panel. In addition, you'll find all of our caution, warning, indicators, and logos affixed to the door panel. And then you'll also find this large yellow placard indicating manufactured from Pierce for your department, indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, also fluid capacities for each of the components, fluid capacity, and also fluid types. As we move into the driver's seat, you'll find this is an air ride comfort seat. There are controls at the lower left-hand lower section for your air ride up and down. As we move to the very bottom section of the seat, you'll find front to back. This is the release mechanism for that. And then as we move to the back of the seat, you'll find a knob which allows you to increase or decrease the backrest location. As we move to about the left knee of the operator, let's start down in the lower left corner. This is your master battery switch in silver. To the right, you'll find your engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port, and J1939 diagnostic port. And then you'll find some switches just beneath that. ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switches. Please see your owner's manual regarding regen operations. You'll also find as we move to the left-hand side of the dash your ignition and start switch. Just inside of that location, you'll find an EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. This will engage or disengage all emergency lights for your vehicle. Headlight switch, and then also a switch labeled panel, which allows you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator's dash. To the right knee area, you're going to find your pump shift. We have instructions for road to pump, and then also from pump to road. The very center yellow allows you to lift the collar and slide downward to engage into the pump position. You do need 2 green indicators for pump operations before exiting the cab. Also, just up to the right-hand side, you'll find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. Let's go ahead and move now to the forward section, which would be the dash, and talk about some of the gauges. On the left, you'll find transmission temperature, oil pressure, DEF level, and water temp. On the right, you'll find front and rear air, fuel, and volts. In the center, you'll find your tachometer, speedometer, diagnostic information displays above and below the speedometer. When the battery is turned on, the ignition is engaged. You'll find all of your tally lights will illuminating. As we move to the lower right-hand corner of the steering column, you'll find your OK to engage your high idle indicator and also switch. As we move up to the very top, you'll find your siren and PA speaker control module. Moving downward just slightly to the right is where you'll find a knob. This is going to be for your windshield wipers and also push for windshield wiper fluid. Just down from that location, we have 4 rocker switches. We'll go over those in just a moment. You also have your yellow diamond, which is the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Just to the right of that, your Allison transmission pad with a digital readout. Let's move from this location back upward first to the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Allison transmission pad just to the right. We have an engine brake on and off switch, an engine brake low, medium, and high setting switch, mirror heat, and load manager. Just to the right, once again, a little difficult to see because of the wire blocking it. This is your windshield wiper control, push for fluid. Climate control for heat and defrost and air conditioning. As we look overhead in the driver's seat, we'll talk about the switches in the uppermost left corner, starting first with emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have been engaged, you'll indicate a green indicator within the switch indicating that it's active. Let's move just to the right on the same plane. We'll find another set of switches for front flood, driver's side cab scene, passenger side cab scene, driver's side body scene, passenger side body scene, and an option switch here for air horn or select electronic horn. Let's move overhead once again, directly in the center. If this light is illuminating, it's indicated do not move your truck. You have a compartment or door open. You'll also find seatbelt information located in the very center, and then just beneath the seatbelt module is where you'll find your unit speaker for your main radio. Let's go back to the seatbelt information. Red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green indicating they're in the seat and belted. As we move overhead, over each position, you'll find lenses that are either red or white. Push on or off for engaging those. We're now to the rear section of the cab where you'll find two rear-facing SCBA seats. Just underneath the seat is where you're going to find the heater output module. As we move more toward the center in between the two seats in the rear section of the cab, you'll find this lift and turn latch will gain access to the rear of the apparatus engine, and this is where you're going to find your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's do a 180 look out the rear, and this is going to be where your pump panel is located. It's fully enclosed. Let's start on the left-hand side of the pump panel with large diameter discharge, front discharge, and number 2 passenger side discharge. As we move more to the right, you'll find the number 1 speed lay, minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi, your deluge discharge just to the right, and then also a warning here, fall hazard, never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. As we move up just from this location from the warning placard, you'll find the fire pump primer. It's a push to prime air, a minimum of 1,000 RPMs for best practices. You'll also find just to the right of that your tank to pump, and then further to the right we'll find all of our discharges. You can see they're slightly lower than the other valves, which is your tank fill and recirculating line, and then to the very far right, slightly elevated, is going to be your driver's side auxiliary inlet. Let's move to the left. This is going to be your recirculating line. It's a twist, not a pull. Just to the right, you're going to find you have a water tank level indicator. And then further to the right, you'll find your master intake gauge. And then just to the right of that gauge, you'll find your master discharge. In between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They're currently plugged, and these are for testing purposes. Let's move just to the right of this location where you'll find a pressure throttle governor. In the upper left-hand corner, if illuminated, it would be yellow. It would be a check engine light. Located in the center is a digital readout for the RPM. Just to the right of this location, you'll find if illuminated, it would be red in color. It is a stop engine light. And then down from that location, you'll find the menu button, which allows you to scroll through the various menu functions. It's the orange button. Across the center, you'll find diagnostic engine information. And then to the right, you'll find a red silence button, allowing you to silence any audible alarms that may be sounding from your pressure throttle governor. There are two options, either pressure mode or throttle mode. Those are the two blue buttons on the left-hand side. And there is a digital screen here that you can see the menu information. Just to the right, you'll find a throttle ready indicator. And then further to the right, you'll find a green preset, which allows you to preset either pressure or RPM positions. Down at the very bottom is where your throttle is located, right to increase, left to decrease, push in the center for idle. Just outside of the modules where you'll find a speaker. This is an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen the sound, and this is for your pressure throttle governor. On to the right, you'll find a panel lights and also pump engaged indicator. Let's move now to the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll start at the rear section of the cab. Safety and warning information affixed to the door panel. As we look inside at the hinge point, you'll find the red grab handle for getting access in and out of the cab. And now we're to the officer's location down at the floorboard. We're going to find foot pedals. Those foot pedals control your air horn and also electronic siren. As we move just to the right of this location, you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Then moving back to the seat, you'll find just under the seat, you'll find an additional storage location. Lift and turn will gain you access into this space. Let's move now to the dash area just to the left of the officer's position, where you'll find two 12-volt barrel-style access plugs. As we move overhead, you'll also find push on and off white or red lens lights. And then also in the center, you'll find your air conditioning unit. You'll also find in the very center, once again, that indicator light. Do not move your vehicle. If it's flashing, it's the red light directly in the center. Here are a few images of the vehicle, first starting with the front passenger area. We'll move around now to the side driver's area, and then we'll take a shot of the back. Then we'll move around to the passenger side real quick. Congratulations on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 33499. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.